Try that now.
Either way.
Call the Newport Beach City Council study session for March 11th to order. May we have the roll call, please?
The record will reflect that council members Rosansky and Daigle are absent, and they're excused for the moment.
Okay. First item is clarification of items on the consent calendar. Councilwoman Gardner?
Yes, number 3. This is on the kennels. And I just want to be sure I understand this. On page 7, it says all operators of a private kennel. So a private kennel is one where you take no dogs into board. Is that correct?
Correct. That would be a kennel that has 3 or 4 or more dogs.
Okay. I wanted to be sure that that was.
Okay. Councilman Curry?
No items?
Councilman Webb? Councilman Henn?
Again, on item number 3, has that proposed ordinance been at least sensitized with the kennel operators, and if they've had a chance to look at it, and apparently not?
We actually went out and talked to each kennel owner and their representative as well. And it's a carryover from the county, so it's regulations that are already operating, and they're very good.
That's you.
Okay. I have none, but I understand the staff's going to request that item number 12 be continued.
That's right, probably until the next meeting.
Okay. All right, and our next item on the study session is electronic recycling program presentation by Goodwill Industries.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrea from General Services, and I'm currently the recycling coordinator. Just a little bit of a background. In 2002, and finally adopted early 2003, the state decided that electronic waste, which consists of computers, televisions, your cell phones, all of these items contain hazardous substances such as lead and mercury, were going to be deemed hazardous waste, so you could no longer put them in your trash. Since then, our refuse collectors have no longer accepted those items, and residents have been able to take their items to county facilities, which are in Irvine, off of Sand Canyon, and Huntington Beach, off of Beach Boulevard. It is free to them, but it is a little bit of a drive, as you can imagine. This year, to date, since July 1st, our trash collectors have encountered about 225 incidents in the field of e-waste being essentially thrown out. We, of course, won't take it, so we just leave it and red tag it. But working together, I've been working with Goodwill Industries, and they have explained their wonderful program to us. We'd like to create at first an event and maybe more of a permanent drop-off location for them to bring their electronic waste in a more convenient manner. So we invited them here today to share their program with you guys, and I'd like to introduce first Dan Rogers and Scott Mueller, who is their program recycling manager, and finally Doug Woolley, who's their business development manager, and he'll be speaking with you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Again, my name is Doug Woolley, and what I failed to have Andrew mention is that Dan is not just Dan Rogers. He's also our president and CEO of the company. So just want to throw that out there. Thank you. Again, my name is Doug Woolley, and I'm the community development manager with Goodwill. And in essence, anytime that I tell people that I work for Goodwill, a couple of things that they'll immediately ask me is, what store do I work at, or if I can come and pick something up from them. And that's fine. You know, I'll tell them that I don't work at a store, and no, I won't get on that truck and come and pick your items up, but I'll certainly point them in the right direction. What a lot of people don't know is that Goodwill also provides job training and job placement services to people with disabilities and other barriers to independence. And by one of the many different ways that we do that is what I'm going to be presenting to you all today is that's also through our e-waste program. So in talking to you all about our e-waste program, as I mentioned, as you probably know, Goodwill has thrift stores and donation centers, and even offers job training and job placement services to people. But did you know that Goodwill is also a state-certified e-waste collector? And so when we start to talk about e-waste, what exactly is e-waste? We're talking computer monitors, televisions, VCRs, DVD players, cell phones, telephones, fax machines, copy machines, anything basically electronic is and can be considered e-waste. Here's a very interesting fact. Did you know that one old television set can contain up to 10 pounds of lead? So imagine one television set ending up in your landfills. And now, as you heard Andrea mention, I think she said over 200 e-waste incidences in the city. So imagine how many of those were, in fact, television sets that could have possibly ended up in the landfill here in Newport Beach. Each year, over 1.5 million tons of e-waste thrown into American landfills. Disposed of improperly, electronic waste, electronic equipment can and will be harmful to the environment. How is it that Goodwill can provide the solutions here in the city of Newport Beach? Goodwill provides a safe and easy way for both consumers and businesses to dispose of their electronics, working and non-working, at absolutely no charge. And before you ask, I'll get to exactly how we can do that at no charge. Over 30 Goodwill locations, and what I asked Homer to pass up to you all, there are just some of the locations that's here on this particular sheet here. And for those also in attendance, I do have extra sheets just in case you're interested. Over 30 Goodwill donation centers accept e-waste throughout the county. Goodwill can help you host an e-waste roundup event. And Goodwill also, we're also able to help you host a permanent collection site here in the city of Newport. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Of course, there's the contact information. You pick a day that you want to hold the e-waste event on, and we'll be here to take care of it. You'll see a number of pictures throughout the slide presentation. One of the things I'd like to point out to you all is that every picture that you see in here with the team that has the green shirts on are all folks that have various types of disabilities or some other form of barrier to independence. So not only are we promoting our mission, which is to provide people with disabilities and other barriers the opportunity to achieve their highest levels of personal and economic independence. One of the ways, again, as we're doing it via e-waste, is that they are the ones that are out at the sites collecting the e-waste goods, and once it's transferred back to our Goodwill facility, they're also the ones that are breaking the product down and making sure makes sure it's placed in its proper boxes to be then turned over to the e-waste recycler. Okay, it's really easy being green. Goodwill will support the e-waste event by investing in the following. We have a driver, e-waste staff, 8 hours for 6 staff members. We'll have bins out on location, as well as an e-waste trailer or a truck. Again, at no cost to the city. We'll have fuel and other related vehicle and equipment costs. And as far as our liability insurance goes, just in case you wanted to know, our general liability insurance is set at $1 million of each occurrence, with a $3 million general aggregate, which includes products and completed operations. Additionally, we carry a $10 million each occurrence and aggregate excess umbrella of liability policy in the event that we have a claim in excess of the primary liability insurance coverage. So if there's any questions regarding the liability insurance, we got you covered. But there, again, as I mentioned, and will continue saying, that there's absolutely no cost to the city. Simply promote the event. We have pre- and post-press releases in local newspapers and city newsletters, flyers distributed at other city events, city website, Goodwill e-waste solutions included in your city outreach materials. And as we always like to say, we like to always create that win-win situation, especially here in the city of Newport Beach. It's our lovely e-waste trailer that we have at all of our e-waste events, no matter where we go throughout the county. Anytime that we'll do a roundup here in Newport Beach, we will see this trailer that's here with our e-waste graphic on it. And all the materials that are in fact collected are returned to our Goodwill Center in Santa Ana for either reuse, recycle, or repurpose purposes. Last year, we collected 4.3 million pounds of electronic waste. And the e-waste was either recycled or, in the case of newer model televisions, they were refurbished and put on what we call shopgoodwill.com. And of course, we're all familiar with eBay. Well, shopgoodwill.com is our version of eBay. So anytime that we have donors donate things that we'll want to put on our auction site versus putting it in any of our regular brick and mortar stores, we'll put it on our shopgoodwill.com site. Or we'll sell it at our Goodwill Computer Works stores, and we have computer stores, two computer stores throughout the county, one located in Santa Ana and the other one in Fullerton, that are just geared towards selling electronics, computers, things of that nature. To add even more value, your event helps local people with disabilities and other barriers gain independence. And as I mentioned earlier, we have 14 folks with various disabilities, and we're talking from developmental disabilities all the way up to something maybe as minor as, and I'm not discounting any disability, maybe as minor as someone who may have carpal tunnel syndrome, or someone who may be have a hearing impairment or visual impairment, something of that nature. So we have 14 folks. And here you see a couple of pictures of them. And also take into consideration some of the folks that we're training on has never operated a power tool, something as simple as a screwdriver. So as we're training them on doing these things, we're giving them a skill. We're also employing them. And hopefully, as we try to place them out into the community, they'll be able to transition and transfer that work skill that we're training them on into competitive employment out in the community. So let's join the dozens of cities and organizations and businesses who've taken on the challenge of going green here in Orange County. I'm here just a few cities: Aliso, Cypress, Dana Point, and the city of San Juan Capistrano, several local schools, several medical centers, and businesses where employers can come and drop off their information or come and drop off their electronic waste materials. Just a couple of quotes that we had from Insight Systems and the senior civils engineer from the city of San Juan Capistrano. And that is pretty much it. So I am available for questions, and I'll do my best.
Councilwoman Gardner?
Yes, to go back, you collect the computers and everything, and you take them back to Santa Ana, and you look at some and say, well, these can be refurbished. The others, you break down on site, you take out whatever, the lead or whatever, and you send it to a
recycler.
A recycler. And do you know, I mean, there were a lot of stories about 2 years, 3 years ago about e-waste that was just, all we're doing is transporting it someplace else and polluting someplace else. Do you know how they handle their e-waste, the people you deal with?
Let me defer that to our manager. Scott, can you help me with that question, please, sir?
Well, the monitors are being...
What, Scott, can you come forward, because it won't pick up on the microphone back there.
Well, most of our e-waste that's really the most toxic is our monitors, the TVs. That's where the lead and all that stuff is, and that stuff does go to a recycler through the state program, State of California program. All of ours go there where it's broken down, and it's recycled in this country. And it's EPA certified.
Are you done, Nancy? I noticed on your graphic you were talking about like a one-day event, but you also said a permanent collection. You didn't really talk about that. Can you talk about that a little bit? Or is that the follow? I mean, I assume that the presentation was over. I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm going to cut Doug off because he'll commit me to something I can't do. So,
okay.
No. Doug and Andrea have worked hard on this. It's actually a two-prong focus for our e-waste. We do want to host a one-day event around, possibly at the city yard, but we also would like to site a permanent drop-off at the yard. So when we red tag these 225 homes for disposing of e-waste, they have the option, instead of going out the 405 to Beach Boulevard or down to Sand Canyon in the 5, they can bring it to the city yard, and we have a place to put it. And Andrea's been working with Doug and with Goodwill in that they will supply the bin, a sealed bin, to put the materials in, and then they'll pick it up as that bin becomes full. So it's really the one-day event to get everybody in, but an ongoing as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's what particularly attracted me, because, you know, people don't want to wait once a year if they want to get rid of something, and if they got to wait 2, 3, 4, 5 months until your next event, then it does wind up in the trash.
Oh, right, and unfortunately, if you red tag someone, they might just look for a bigger dumpster to
Yeah, or
put
they
under
hide it in the trash
And so,
somehow,
right,
yeah.
so we're hoping that we can capture even more of the e-waste by having a more convenient place to bring it, to put it.
Another question on the, more of the one-day pickups. Do you offer that to just neighborhoods, or just, like, let's say 500 homes in a neighborhood wanted to have a collection event day, or is it just a citywide thing that you
We
do?
actually have a lot of flexibility, so we're more than open to working with residences as well as businesses, cities. So we're very, very flexible on our e-waste collection.
Great, thank you. Sounds like a great program. I will add that I visited your, not your e-waste, but I did visit your document destruction setup that you guys have, I think, on Fairview.
Fairview and Gary,
Yeah,
yes.
and it was very efficient. Anybody needs documents destroyed, they did a very professional job there. I was very pleased, and I got a certificate in the mail afterwards that, you know, was proof that the documents were destroyed in case anybody harassed me.
And one last thing that I might add, that a lot of times people are always concerned about what happens to that hard drive. We do, in fact, have software where we can and will go ahead and wipe those hard drives completely clean, and those that we aren't able to do that with, as we turn those over to the recycler, there is this gigantic hard drive shredder that just eats it up. So we are very, very sensitive to protecting everyone in that regard as well. So if there are no other questions, certainly, yes, sir.
You might tell them that we did over 3.5% of the whole state of California last year's recycling.
One of the other things that you may not know, that last year we certainly resounded what our president and CEO said. So that's absolutely huge for what it is that we're doing, and we're certainly looking forward to exceeding that amount this coming year.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, Doug, help me understand something. Do people drop things off without the drop-off point being manned by a city staff or Goodwill staff? I mean, could they drop off a TV that weighs, 200 pounds, and then it isn't in a container and you have to deal with it?
Well, realistically, that's some of the things that we deal with, not just from an e-waste standpoint, but everything. The site will be closed, and someone will go ahead and drop something off, knowing that the site is even closed. And so, obviously, as we come in to man our normal business hours, and we go ahead and we'll deal with whatever the donation is at that particular time.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm looking at is if the city actually had a continuous program that was going on,
Okay, maybe I misunderstood you. If we have that permanent site, we will in fact have someone there to man that particular site. If I misunderstood you, my apologies.
Robin?
Mayor, I had a question too. I appreciate you're going over the insurance. The general liability insurance that you have, do you have the hazardous waste materials that result from the e-waste? Those get recycled. Are any of them disposed of, and if they are or otherwise, does your general liability insurance cover liability that might come under future prosecution of improper disposal of waste?
I'm pretty sure it does, but I'll be able to answer that question specifically and get it to Andrea. She can get back with you all with exactly what that answer is.
Just to let the council know and the representatives from Goodwill here know, we have had occasion before where we've had the city has made arrangements to have waste disposed of at a site, and it was a legal site certified by the state of California, but it wasn't managed properly. And about 10 years later, the state of California, the EPA went after this site for cleanup because it wasn't managed, and they follow back through to whoever it is, and municipalities can also be one of the sites. So to the extent that we would enter into some sort of an agreement with Goodwill, that would be something I would be looking for if we were to have some sort of permanent facility at the city.
If I might just add to that, if there is a monitor that's broken, we do have the proper means to dispose of those things. So it wouldn't be something that we would just come and get the site, come and get the monitors or what have you, and leave the internals of the monitors just laying out. So no, we will make sure that it is in fact properly disposed of, but again, I will make sure that we get that question answered for you.
Okay, Councilman Curry?
Well, I've been aware of the good work by Goodwill Industries for several years and the variety of things that you do in the community, and certainly it's a great community resource to have you helping people in need. I noticed on this list here that we have a facility at St. Michael's, at Pacific View and Marguerite in Corona Del Mar?
Yes, we do.
And any idea as to what the quantity or the throughput is for that collection point in terms of e-waste?
You know, it really varies from day to day, so it'd be very difficult to give you any specifics on that.
Okay, thank you.
But we're hoping to grow that, especially if we're, through the city's materials, if that's something that we're able to put out, hopefully we'll see the growth of e-waste at that particular location grow.
You said the site would be manned at our city yard. So you provide that employee
Yes,
at no cost to the city?
that's correct.
Great.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, any public comments on the Goodwill Industry presentation? Okay, seeing none, any comments on anything not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we're recessed to closed session.